Okay, so the farming industry was an important part of the causes of the Great Depression. We kind of went over this before we left school. It's okay if you don't remember, because I know that was forever ago. But what I explained before was that the first people to really get hit by the Depression before it ever even started during the 1920s were farmers. Because during World War I, remember that was our unit before the 1920s, there was a high demand for food and crops. And remember those victory gardens and propaganda that people were using because there was such a high demand for food to feed the soldiers across seas. So after World War I, the demand falls. We don't need to be producing that much crops or output anymore because we don't need to feed people who are fighting on the front lines. So the demand for crops falls and prices decline over 40%. So this is hard for the farmers to make more money like they had been throughout the last couple of years and throughout the war. So farmers decide that to make more money that they're going to grow as many crops as they can and really boost their output. But even though they try to do this, since there is no demand that people want to buy all of these crops that are producing, the annual farm income, so all of the money earned in the USA within a year during this time dropped from about $10 million to $4 million. So that is a lot of money that farmers lost. And this caused them to go into debt. They weren't able to pay their property owners off for the land that they were renting or that they owned to produce their crops. They lost their farms and property since they weren't able to pay off their debts and loans. And this really hurt the banks as well because farmers weren't able to invest in the economy or store any of their money in the banks during this time because they weren't making any. So even during the 1920s, we're going to be getting into the 1930s with our Great Depression unit because the stock market crash happened in 1929. So even during the 20s, farmers were already experiencing the Great Depression.